I've heard a lot about it. I've seen some of the marquee events that this organization has done before, and I'm extremely honored to be part of this. This topic is very interesting, modern data, right? If you can go to the next slide, Shane. This whole thing around modern data trends is a very interesting theme. We all been we all been swayed by AI, Chat GPT, the open AI innovation, etc. in the last 12 months. But what we have forgotten is that underpinning all this, and what we should not forget, is that underpinning all this is the concept of data. Without data, how do you make decisions? How do you get insights? Can you trust the data that you're using? Are you using the complete data that you have access to? Are some of the questions that our key stakeholders are asking. And therefore, this topic of modern data trends and how do you unlock value from it is a very important topic for all of us. Yeah. So if you, next slide, Sharon. So what's driving this? I mentioned a few of the things in my opening statement, but what's driving all these trends around modern data? Okay. Let me be very clear, every client that we talk to is embarking on some kind of digital transformation. It could be digital transformation at the level of marketing, which means how do you get customers, how do you reach out to customers faster? Or it could be a digital transformation in their supply chains in terms of inventory optimization, faster deliveries, etc. Or it could be just digital transformation internally, in the HR process, finance processes. Every client that we talk to is embarking on a digital transformation. In addition, there are other themes around ESG, sustainability. It's coming up, right? You have all heard of climate change. You all must have heard of carbon neutrality. These are some of the things that big corporations and individuals and countries are grappling with. At the core of it, it is not a policy issue. It is a data issue. You need to track the data. You need to collect the data, measure it, and track it. At the core of it, ESG is a data issue, right? We all think of our ESG as a policy issue, but fundamentally for corporations, it is a data issue. And again, customers themselves are getting transformed. Today, all of us, especially if you're sitting in India, 90% of my payments is digital. I barely use cash, right? Therefore, my access or my interface with a bank is not the branch, but maybe a mobile phone, right? To make a payment. And finally, there are usual cost of goods challenges which we are all going through. You must have heard the inflation that has spiked up in the last couple of quarters. Every client is looking at how do I use data to optimize my costs, right? All of these macro mega trends is shaping a decision making and the behavior of our clients, right? So they're looking at how do I take faster decision? How do I drive faster transformation? How do I be more flexible? Newer and newer sources of data are coming in every day, be it IoT, social, or some other source of data. How do I incorporate that in my decision making is something that clients are looking to address, right? And therefore, all of these clients are looking, how do I get a better understanding of my business? These are at the very core of it, this becomes a data problem for every client of ours, right? And hence, understanding of some trends in data and what we call as modern data becomes all the more important. Right? Next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. But let's talk. This is a little bit of a busy slide, but I just do want to maybe share some thoughts on this. Having understood what's driving the mega trends, how are clients then looking at approaching the data, right? Are they saying that I'm going to collect everything and then take decisions? Or are they taking some other approach towards understanding data? What we are seeing is that there are basically three big trends in the way clients are thinking about their overall architecture, right? One is from centralized to more decentralized. You know, gone are the days where there are mega monolith structures to collect the data and get insights from that. Clients are saying that how do I distribute it, yet have a common layer of data governance, of course, right? You can't have too much federation that everybody does anything they want to in an organization. But the clients are thinking that, hey, do I look at a more geographical cuts? Can I have data by businesses or by processes? So they're looking at a much more decentralized approach. And even from an architecture perspective, it's not necessarily a more consolidated view, but more a distributed view. You'll see these terms coming up more and more in my presentation. Decentralized, distributed, federated architectures are becoming more and more common. What it also helps, think about a scenario where clients are adding newer sources of data. It could be newer sources of data from an acquisition, right? It becomes easier to add if you have a more federated model. Or think about a scenario when a client is disposing of a company, right? They're doing an M&A and they're getting rid of a business as an example. It becomes easier to divest the data elements, the architecture can be separated easily if you have a more federated architecture, right? So essentially, the clients are looking at how do I make this more federated, more decentralized, more distributed, which allows them to make it more interoperable, right? So these are some of the big trends that we see from an architecture perspective that is becoming more and more common, right? Next slide, Shen. Okay. And this is whatever I just said is further getting corroborated by the analysts that we speak to. And some of the fundamental research that we are seeing is that clients are saying, every client that we talk to is saying that, hey, I got my data, I got my architecture, but can I trust it? And that is where data governance comes in, right? Data governance comes in, right? So the chart shows that 45% of CXOs are looking to have a data governance. And why data governance is important? Again, I'll recap, right? Data governance has become more and more important because you're getting newer sources of data every day. Every day, newer sources of data coming in. Okay. Clients are doing M&A activities. They're acquiring new companies. New companies mean new data comes in. Can you trust it? Does it have the same operating definition? Right? Then there is obviously the whole Gen AI, LLMs. LLM use tons of data. Can you trust? Are you sure the LLM that you're using is not using your IP, right? Or your copyrighted data? So questions like these are coming in, and hence every client that we talk to are saying that how do I establish data governance standards, right? And what he made an interesting observation. He's saying this, when they did an inventory of their data assets, more than 80% was getting duplicated across multiple parts of the organization. Think about the cost they're incurring to maintain the data, the licenses that they're paying, the compute power that they're wasting, right? And hence, clients are saying that how do I monetize this data in a more structured manner through a concept called data products, which is another big trend in modern data, right? This is coming up big, very big. And I have a slide and a video to show to you. As a theme, this is becoming very, very important. Okay. AI TRISM. TRISM represent trust, risk, and security. AI is cool. Can you trust it? Can you use it ethically? Is it secure? Are there no copyright issues? Are all questions that CXOs and boardrooms are extremely concerned about. And that is another big trend that is seeing. In fact, I would argue Gen AI has accelerated this thinking. We love Gen AI, not just because of the coolness of Gen AI, but because it has brought this whole concept of trust trust in data to the forefront? Can I trust what it is saying? Can I trust what Gen AI is using? Are questions that not just people like you and me are asking, but our boardrooms and CXOs are very concerned about, right? This is another big trend. And I'm very glad to say that from a work that we have done, that EY and EY GDS has done, we are pretty much positioned as a leader in some of the analyst category. In fact, we got rated as leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrant last 4 years in a row, pretty much among the absolute right quadrant, which is your top quadrant for thought leadership and execution. And we have been, because of our investments in data products, in concepts like data fabric and data mesh and data governance, we have EY, I'm glad to say that EY is rated as a leader in some of these categories. Shen, if you can move on, please. The other thing, quickly, I want to talk about again, why we are investing. Shayan mentioned about our center in Sri Lanka. We are very keen to scale our talent pool in Sri Lanka. We believe it's a country and a city with great talent. Okay. And some of the reasons why, what you can expect is something that is called out by HFS. HFS is also a very premier analyst agency, which has looked at our value proposition and data and said that EY has demonstrated the ability to assist in driving synergy at global scale for clients. Remember, lot of our competitors can look at how do you get data in, how do you ingest the data, but how do you find value from it? Something that EY has typically differentiated itself through its approach. I spoke about some of that in the previous slides, but also through our talent, through our focus on business outcomes, and a very sector-specific approach. Remember, if you're talking to a consumer company, you need to talk consumer language. If you're talking to a financial services company, you don't talk their language of financial services. So we have a very sector-driven approach towards business outcomes. And for these reasons, EY has come up as pretty much a leader and a differentiated a very differentiated organization when it comes to modern data, right? Next slide, Shen. So what do we do in this? What do we do in this modern data, right? We are probably one of the unique organizations which are looking at modern data from strategy to innovation. So let me talk a little bit about strategy, right? Clients want to know what's my data strategy or data architecture for next 5 years. They are looking at, I'm just taking a hypothetical example. They're looking at expanding into new markets. They're looking at making acquisitions. They are looking at how much data should go to the cloud or how much data should remain on-prem. These are some of the big questions that CXOs, CDOs, CIOs are grappling with. What's my data strategy for next couple of years? Then there are other questions like, who can access this? What kind of data in the organization? Yes, I'm getting all this data in, but will I open it up to everybody? Is that going to be my methodology? Or I'm going to tighten the access, in which case nobody sees anything. So what's my data access strategy? And therefore, that goes back to the original question of data governance as a theme by itself, right? So these are some of the big things on strategy that clients are wanting to understand. And we really advise at the board level, at CXO level, on data strategy, data architecture for the future. Transform, clearly defining what are the foundation elements. How do you store the data? Which platform to use? What's my data governance tool that I will use, right? Those are some of the questions that, what's my architecture? Do I use a data mesh? Do I use a data fabric? How much should be distributed, etc. So those are some of the questions in the transform layer we help our clients with. And there's a lot of implementation in that, right? And finally, we help modernize the stack, right? Where a huge amount of implementation comes in. My teams in GDS, whether it is Sri Lanka or whether in India, whether in Mexico or in Manila, are involved in migrating and modernizing the tech stack for multiple clients. Multiple clients. We were working, for example, with a large bank in the US, an example, and they were acquiring another bank. So think about this, right? The other bank has a different data model. How do you harmonize it? How do you make sure you get the every element of the data in and ensure that you go live with no misses from a data perspective? Was a big question that we had to do. And we actually helped the client go live on the exact day they promised the street, right? And we helped that bank become one of the biggest in US. We were helping another bank, for example, in Australia, where multiple folks from India and Sri Lanka were involved. They were actually reversed. They were divesting their assets. So during divestment, how do you make sure that when you do data sharing, you're not sharing sensitive data? So we had to build tools for redaction, as an example, right? So see some of the things that come up in migrate and modernize. And finally, innovate. Innovate is something that is becoming very critical now, because clients are saying that I've got tons of data, but am I leveraging it enough? Am I using it for innovation? I don't know. What about data sharing? There are examples in the industry now where we are working. We are bringing car manufacturers and insurance company together. Car manufacturers have driving data. And what do insurance company do? They are insuring individuals. Can they leverage that driving data to provide bespoke insurance? Is a question that insurance companies are wanting to build products around. And we as EY are sitting at center of some of these innovation, right? Because this involves a lot of data sharing between insurance companies and car companies, as an example. And therefore, data sharing through whether through data products concept or otherwise is becoming a very, very powerful concept. And we have a clear innovation theme around this. Okay. Shen, if you don't mind. I'll just spend maybe 30 seconds or a minute on data products as a concept, right? What is data products, right? I spoke about the example of a consumer company in New Zealand, which mentioned that they have close to 70-80% of the data elements getting duplicated. So it is one department using it, another department using the same data. So they created their own data silo for that, right? So tons of issues around data sharing, the data duplication is happening in organization, and they're struggling with this. Therefore, they're not able to monetize it properly. So this whole concept of data products is about how do you create very curated data sets which are governed, which are access governed, and on a need to know basis, allow people to use it, right? What it does, it prevents duplication, number one, right? Number two, now you know what data elements are critical, more in demand, because you'll be tracking usage. Remember, there's a marketplace. All the data products are hosted in a marketplace. Therefore, you will know which data elements are critical, more important, getting more leveraged. All those things you'll get to know as a CDO of an organization. And this whole concept of data products is becoming extremely powerful. Okay. You'll hear about this from more and more clients. These are some of the biggest themes, excuse me, in the area of data that's coming up. Okay. Next slide. From a data perspective, I like to show you one video, data product perspective, so that it helps make this concept much more clear. Sharon, if you don't mind playing the video.
Data in organizations should be easily accessible to all, from the front line to the boardroom, no matter the location, role, or department. The experience should be simple, as if you were shopping for food at the supermarket. Imagine if you could search and access data that quickly and easily. It would significantly improve the way we work. Data that is easier to consume, produce, and govern helps us make decisions that increase growth and keep pace with change. As organizations accumulate more and more data each day, it's increasingly difficult to trawl through multiple systems to find data or jump through hoops to get access to data sets created. It's also frustrating to go through a manual and lengthy process to onboard data and ascertain how trustworthy data is before use. The EY Data Product Marketplace focuses on solving these challenges and simplifying the user experience for data management. Just like how supermarkets today package food and stock them on shelves, the EY Data Product Marketplace enables organizations to take unlabeled data from warehouses and assemble and package them into a product that is correctly labeled, standardized, and quality assured, and is accessible via a digital marketplace where users can browse, subscribe to, and monitor data products that suit their needs, mimicking the user experience of shopping in a supermarket. But the data product marketplace enables more than just the consumption of data. It also spans to cover the production and governance of data. The EY Data Product Marketplace, powered by ServiceNow, helps organizations and its people to browse all data from a single portal and create new data sets that are standardized and available on the marketplace. They can also easily manage and monitor data products, reduce operational spend on data management activities, and finally, be able to trust data. The EY Data Product Marketplace transforms the end-to-end data experience using a simple business user-centric solution. For more information and to request a demo, contact the EY Data Products Marketplace team now.
Yeah, yeah, I hope you understood the concept of data marketplace, and I want to emphasize a few key words in the whole concept of data product. One is a marketplace. Think about you buying from Amazon, right? Amazon.com. You want to buy maybe a toothbrush. If you don't like toothbrush, you want to buy something else. You want to buy a phone, maybe yes. That's how simple a marketplace should be for data in an organization. Yeah? So, for example, if I'm an, let's say, a hiring manager, I like to understand what are the trends in hiring in the last 1 month. I should know where to go and get the data from the marketplace. Should be that easy to access, right? And because it is a curated data and there is a central marketplace, there will be a proper data governance. Do you update the data element, particular data set? Things you can do, right? There's no duplication, right? I'll be tempted or rather I'll be inspired to use it for my own decision making. Today, a lot of us are constrained by not knowing where the data is in the first place, right? Okay. So again, these are some of the business impact that you can get by using a concept like data products. I spoke about more 200% increase in ownership and governance activity. I mean, CDOs struggle to understand what are the sources of data and who's using what. This allows them, this concept data product allows them to drive more data governance. Just having more visibility on who using what data. And then obviously there's cost reduction. I spoke about lower duplication, right? Lesser compute as an example, right? More turnaround time to decision making. That's the critical element. You're doing this because you can take faster decisions. And we have seen that this concept of data product allows you to take faster decision making. Yeah. Next slide. Okay. We don't do this on our own. We are partners. Yeah, as just like We have global tier partners. We work very closely with some of the big names mentioned there. Microsoft obviously is our tier one partner, number one partner, and we are big partners to them. In addition to that, we are big partners to companies like Snowflake, Contexa, ServiceNow. The previous example of data products marketplace was built on a ServiceNow platform. You must have heard about it in the end. We are also big partners to organizations like Immuta, Stardog, Dremio, Neo4j, etc. So we bring in the best of the ecosystem when we implement anything for our clients. And this is critical because a lot of innovation is being driven in our partnerships. It's not that all the innovation has to be done by me or my team. We can leverage what's happening in the industry, stitch together multiple components for our clients. And that's the key role of anybody who's working in our organization is that they have access to all these tools and technologies. They work on multiple of these tools and therefore are able to build capabilities. This is also as an employee, you have the advantage of working with an organization like EY is just the access and sheer breadth of technology experience that you can get because of our alliance partnerships. Okay. Next slide. Okay. Again, I do want to call out, as I mentioned before, we are looking to scaling our Colombo centers significantly in the last 12 months that we have gone live. We have seen great talent and great work being done out of the center. And my aspiration is to not to just double it, but maybe perhaps make it 10x over next 2 to 3 years. That's my aspiration from a data perspective. And I just want to call out why somebody should look at EY. We invest a lot. We invest a lot in developing our employees. On an average, I'll tell you, me and my employees, we go through close to 120 to 150 hours of training every year. You know, we have what is called badges. Yeah, and badges are nothing but curated content, curated learning content. You want to do a badge on data governance, there are multiple of those badges. You want to do a badge on AI, there are multiple of those badges in our system, right? And we encourage every employee to do at least one badge a year. That's literally mandatory. So last year, for example, I did a badge on quantum computing. This year, I do want to do one on Gen AI, right? We also have a very great partnership with Hult University on giving a master's in business analytics, a very rare one. This is one of the few across the world which has a data and AI and sponsored by corporates like EY. So we and many of our employees have actually taken advantage of that to get a master's program, right? A master's degree in data and analytics. Okay. In addition, I'll be amiss if I don't mention our sponsorship of World Open Science Better Working World Challenges. Last year, we had a global challenge on predicting forest fires, which, as you know and I know, is a big issue in some of the countries in the world, right? So we have sponsored such events globally, and I'm looking forward to the next one, which will be coming up in early next year, that we will be sponsoring, and I'm looking forward to what business problem this time we will be sponsoring, right? So again, I want to emphasize we are a company that has employees at the center of our ecosystem. Yeah. We invest a lot in training. Yeah. We invest a lot in skilling, and you will have obviously, needless to say, I hope the example that I shared in the past tells you about the cutting edge work that we do. So overall, our focus is on make sure we attract, train, and develop our people in the best manner possible. Next slide, Shen. I want to just spend maybe a few minutes about AI and how AI will disrupt the data landscape, right? We talk about AI. There's a little bit of misconception going around that AI is the be all and the end all. AI will happen. I have an AI ecosystem. It could be Chat GPT. All I have to do is run everything through it. You want to create a new code, Chat GPT will create it for me. You want to create a new poem, Chat GPT will create for me. You want to create art, Chat GPT will create for me. Unfortunately, you have to understand it is not the solution for our problems. AI has disrupted the data landscape. Okay, next slide, Chen. Okay. These are some of you know very well. There are enough people in this who must have used a lot of these tools. Chat GPT, there is DAL-E, there is from you got LLMs from Facebook or Meta rather. So ton of it that's coming up. Okay, literally, and there's a huge innovation being driven in the Chinese ecosystem. Baidu, for example, and so therefore there's different types generative AI tools that are coming up on a daily basis. Okay, and all of these are are disrupting the data ecosystem. And I'll talk about a few examples quickly. Sharon, if you don't mind, go to the next slide. Yeah. The key to it is that if you want to embark on an AI, which all of us want to, there is no client of ours who does not want to embark on an AI strategy. But the key is that how do you make sure your data is AI ready? And this is the biggest dilemma. The dilemma is not how to use ChatGPT. No, it's not. The dilemma is how do I get my data AI ready? Right? Do I am I 100% sure of the quality of the data that I'm using? Right? Then the output of AI, what is the risk and compliance attached to it? Am I convinced about the copyright issues around the data? Right? How do I ensure that Chat GPT, as an example, I'm just taking that as an example, is leveraging every source of data that I can think of? Because a lot of data also sits in my own ecosystem. Am I leveraging that or not? Right? That or not in my decision making, right? Then single source of truth for data, right? It becomes very critical if you're working in an organization where there are silos, where there are multiple business units. Then there's the whole question of scaling. I've got my output. How do I deploy it? Am I just going to use it in my machine? How do I make sure it is actually getting implemented in the processes? How do I make sure it is actually getting implemented in my ecosystem? All these questions people are grappling with. It's very easy to do a point POC, but it's not very easy to drive enterprise grade transformation if your data is not AI ready. Okay, next slide. Final takeaways, I want to leave behind. So this area of data is getting disrupted, has been disrupted, and it will get more and more disrupted. And more, it is not necessarily just because of source of data only. AI is disrupting the data landscape, right? Gen AI, I mentioned this in my opening remark. Gen AI has put data governance at the center of every conversation. Every conversation. People get enamored by what an output of OpenAI or ChatGPT is. But the moment they see the output, the first question they come up is, can I trust it? Can I trust it? What sources is it using? Are copyrights in place? Is it ethical or not? Is there any bias or not? That's the first question that is being asked. And I'm extremely glad that this AI has put data and data governance at the middle of every conversation. Right? Data as a product. Data as a product has become super critical because you have this data, but am I as an organization monetizing it? Can I share it with other companies and monetize it further? That's a big issue. I read a report some time back that which said that only 8 to 10% of internal data is leveraged at any point in time. Only 8 to 10%. A lot of data is sitting as dark data in silos, in texts, in emails. How do we leverage it? And hence, data as a product is an important theme. Cloud will drive data adoption. Cloud has driven data adoption because of scalability, because of better compute, because of accessibility. Cloud will drive the whole convergence of modern data. So these are some of the big trends. I'm very excited by this space. I hope you share my excitement. Right? These are some of the big trends in modern data that we're seeing. And now I'll pause, and Sharon, I will probably take some questions or comments.
Okay, so thank you so much, Rags, for your insights. I think it was a very interesting webinar that we have had. So we've got quite a few questions that have come in. Thank you so much to all those who are submitting their questions right now. So I will take up some of the questions that have come in. Some have sent in their questions to me personally, but some have shared on the chat as well. But I'll take up a couple of questions that we have received. One is, what do you think of Gen AI in the data modernization initiatives? What do you think about the impact? Sorry about that. What do you think of the impact of Gen AI in data modernization initiatives?
No, absolutely. I mean, like I spoke about it, Gen AI, I'm very thankful to Gen AI because it has brought the entire concept of data governance right in the middle of a CXO or a boardroom conversations. Clients are not necessarily worried about adoption of Gen AI. I'll be very honest. Clients are more worried about data governance. Clients are more concerned. They're asking questions about, can I trust the data that has been used? Can I trust the output of what Gen AI is? How am I sure that there is no ethics or a bias or no copyright issues? I think these are some of the things that Gen AI has done to disrupt the data ecosystem. Now, clients are really, really, really asking these questions. We are working with, for example, a large car manufacturer in the Nordics area, and they have done huge acquisitions in the past. They want to leverage Gen AI, but they're just not able to do it because just the data governance layers are in very diffused. Data definitions are very different in different companies of theirs. So they are looking at us, partners like EY, to help them in this data governance journey. Right? Okay.
Right. Thank you so much, Rags. Next, we have a question from Deeban. The question goes, what are the possible risks from adopting external AI software? I think it's a very pertinent question. What are the possible risks from adopting external AI software?
Most of the AI software now is open source, right? I mean, you got tons of it coming up every day, especially LLMs. My view is exactly what I mentioned in across data governance. You got to be very sure you can trust the sources that it is using. You have to know. It's okay to do one POC, fine, right? At an individual level. But when I start deploying it in an organization, or when I start using the output of that AI software for decision making, when I start using the output of the software for let's say building another product, I have to be very careful about the provenance. I have to be very, very careful and be very sure about data quality, about sources of data, right? So these are some of the foundational data governance issues that you have to factor in when you're using external AI systems or software.
Thanks, Rags. So we have got quite a few questions. Thank you so much to those who are sending in their questions. Please do send in more questions so that Rags can give his insights. Next, we have a question from Hasanti. The question goes, does EY data marketplace contain data on Sri Lankan consumer and pharma markets? That's an interesting
No,
question.
Hasanti, I'll just clarify. It is an EY marketplace that gets implemented for a clients. Okay, the EY marketplace is a framework which we then customize it for various clients. So, for example, the consumer company that I spoke about in New Zealand, we are helping them build data products around, for example, source to pay, record to report, supply chain processes. So it is quite possible, Hasanti, that we may one day work with a client in Sri Lanka who is interested in having data around Sri Lankan consumers and their usage patterns, their spending patterns for decision making, right? It could be a consumer company, right? So at this point in time, we don't necessarily host any data, but it's a framework to build out a marketplace.
Thank you, Asanti, for that question. Hope you got a good answer. Next, we have Chamodi, who asks, what is your take on build versus acquire strategy organizations trying to adopt AI acquire strategy with
Yeah.
regard to organizations trying to adopt AI
Build out. They
capabilities?
spent 6 7 years. It's a small team, really smart small team, and they spend a couple of hundreds of $1 million, probably even more, right? There's a lot of innovation is happening through companies like that today. Do you think we are not? I mean, EY is not necessarily building out an LLM, large language model of its own. We will obviously take one and customize it, right? But there's so much innovation happening in the technology ecosystem. In one of the slide, Chamundi, I mentioned about my alliance partners. Why do we have alliance partners? We have alliance partners because they are good at doing their jobs. They know the innovation in their space. So for me, why would I reinvent the wheel? I'm great at stitching together all these pieces of innovation, put it together as a product, let's say a marketplace or data product marketplace, and implement it for my client. Right? So that's an advantage of being a company like EY is that you get access to a lot of this innovation from other people who are who are so good at doing what they're doing that I can trust their products and leverage it for our clients.
Satya, Satya asks, what are the future skill development needs you see? What are the future skill development needs you see?
I mean, I don't want to give an answer which says that you have to look for next 10 years, because I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. Okay, I'll be very honest. You know, it's not something that I have the vision for. All I will say is that for any professional like us, ability to learn, relearn becomes an important skill in life. Right? It becomes very important skill in life. You know, there were about 20 years back, I relearned my concepts of statistics when I was doing a Six Sigma program with GE in my previous job, right? Then then couple of years later, I relearned a lot of machine learning techniques. When I got into an analytics role in the mid 2000s, right? So every couple of years, we all get disrupted. We have to learn and relearn concepts and topics. So if I have any advice to you, is learnability has to be your number one skill. Okay. Which means you should be intellectually curious. You should not mind taking a risk once in a while. And needless to say, you should not mind investing time and effort to learn new skills. Okay. That's the only advice I can give. Otherwise, jobs come and go. Yeah. Skills come and go. Fashion and fads come and go. But learnability does not go. It will stay with you.
Fantastic. Learnability. Yeah, that's an important keyword. Right. Thank you, Satya. Next, we have a question from Irandika. The question is, when it comes to cloud adoption, are we seeing it across the regions or any specific trend we are observing? When it comes to cloud adoption, are we seeing it across the regions or is there any specific trends we are observing?
Yeah, interesting question. We see cloud everywhere. We were talking to the Microsoft guys some time back, and what they said is that only about 4 to 5% of their total workloads have moved to cloud. That means the journey is still to go for cloud adoption. You know, clients, every client, which wasn't the case currently. There were various reasons for it, but every client has a cloud strategy, and every client is looking at something or the other to move to the cloud. It could be your backend data, it could be your non-core systems, right? And it's not just about moving the data, it's also about refactoring your applications to make them more cloud native. So that you can expand it, you can enhance it, you can create artifacts on it. So therefore clients are seeing. Um, if you look at industries, obviously, needless to say, the newer industries are much more cloud savvy, right? Newer industries are much more cloud savvy, right? But that doesn't mean the traditional industries are not experimenting with data, with cloud. They are, and it's a secular trend. I've seen, I've, we have done work with clients in Australia, New Zealand, some part of Europe, and we see cloud adoption is now becoming central to organization strategy.
This time is from Isanka. Isanka asks, how important is change management when it comes to data modernization, especially for large organizations like EYGDS? How important is change management when it comes
Yeah,
to data modernization, especially for large organizations like EYGDS?
no, very high. We forget we forget that in any technology change, adoption, implementation, the person at the center is a human being. The person at the center is a human being. If you think about from that perspective, therefore, how to take humans along in that journey becomes very important element of change management. I would say it's the most underrated and most, I would say, sometimes ignored aspect of large technology program, which is change management. Critical element of it.
Great. So I think we have time for one more question. Okay. So we spoke a lot about data, emerging trends. In your opinion, Rags, what is the biggest challenge that you feel that organizations are going to face as they adopt and as new emerging trends in data come in? What is the
Yeah.
biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge for any organization is to know what trend to adopt. There are trends coming in dime a dozen. I in the last 5 data mesh, IoT, multiple trends. Question for an organization is, what do you look at? How much do you invest at? Which one do you to create? In which we say, how do you scale innovation? How do you keep humans at center? It's easy to around you, and what's coming around you is coming at the speed of light at this point in time, right? Therefore, how do you make sure you can discern patterns for innovation? You can build processes to scale innovation with by keeping humans at center. That is going to be the biggest challenge for all organizations.
Thank you so much, Rags, for taking up. Thank you, everyone, for submitting your questions. Hope Rags' answers gave you a lot more insight on the topic. So, before I hand over the proceedings back to Sheran and the Slackcom team, I would like to remind you, please do submit your feedback. There's a link shared on the Zoom chat. Please do submit your feedback about this program and how we can improve this program. Remember that there is a series of 12 webinars that are coming over the next few months. Please do send us your honest feedback so that we can improve. So thank you so much, Rags, once again. I would now like to hand over the proceedings to Sharan of Slascom. Over to you, Sharan.
Yeah, thanks, Shan. Yeah, as we draw this session to a close, so on behalf of Slascom, I would like to express my thanks to everyone, all the participants for attending and contributing for this webinar on emerging trends in modern data. A special thanks to Raghavendra for sharing his expertise and insights on his busy schedule, taking his time to spend 1 hour with us. And more importantly, I would like to thank our platinum sponsor, EY Global Delivery Services, for their generous support in sponsoring this 12-month webinar series, which I hope to see everyone again continuously participating. Their commitment to fostering innovation and learning for the IT community is truly commendable. So thanks again, EY GDS. And a special thanks to Shayan Kumar for hosting this webinar, because the webinar became possible and successful because of him. So we are very grateful for the role you played, Shayan, in facilitating today's webinar and the future ones also. So until we meet again, everyone, keep using the power of data to fuel your professional and personal growth. Thank you once again. We look forward to your participation on our upcoming webinar, which will be in early December. So stay tuned and